James McGrath is a Queensland Senator. We have a chance to talk to him tonight in between all matters going on in and around Canberra. Nice to see you, Senator.
Good to see you also, Paul.
So, Grace Tame, I talked about this a little last night, but she doubled down and was given all the obvious free kicks over there on Taxpayer TV last night. She says that the mere existence of she effectively says the mere existence of Christian Porter as the acting leader of the House right now is an insult to all victims of sexual violence. Now, the suggestion seems to be here, reading between the lines, that to merely be accused of something that, of course, police investigated and then dropped because the person who was making the complaint withdrew from that process, yes, ended up taking her own life, makes this, to me, an important thing to talk about, that none of us want to minimise accusations of sexual assault. None of us want to minimise people that are the victims of it. But, James, don't we have to live in a country where you are literally innocent until proven guilty, and to be accused is not the same as being found guilty of anything, because there's a sort of rather rich vein that runs through a certain type of politics that says Christian Porter, frankly, shouldn't be breathing political air anymore because he was accused. And I pointed out all the reasons why it never went further with police.
I happened to watch the interview on ABC TV last night, so please don't shout at me too much. and what was fascinating about Laura Tingle, the ABC, and Ms. Tame was their fundamental lack of understanding of the principles that hold up our legal system here in Australia. And that main one is that presumption of innocence. And under Grace Tame's law, if she ever got into a position of power, is that if you are accused, it can be almost anonymously of any crime, therefore you are guilty, and then you need to just take yourself off into the desert and never be seen from again. It shows a fundamental lack of understanding of the legal principles that built this country, and I acknowledge the work that Ms. Tame has done, but I also want to point out that the ABC gave her a very, very soft interview. And can you imagine a right-wing person, not judging Ms. Tame's politics, but a right-wing person getting such a soft interview on the ABC? It was almost like Laura Tingle was leading her in those questions that she put to her. And this is a danger for us here in Australia, where our national broadcaster doesn't understand the legal system in this country.
Well, also thinking that the legal system sort of just can be put to one side if the person whom is being accused is somebody who you don't agree with politically. Again, we've seen the Greens try to set up the sort of show trial to make sure that he could no longer be a senator. Now, again, I don't want to get into the reads about the who said what and when and how passionate family friends are and all of that stuff. It's just that basic principle that to me is the threshold for that conversation. Yet it seems to be so easily tossed aside if there's a political convenience to that thing being tossed aside.
Well, there's a lot of politics in this, and the Greens are the biggest bunch of sanctimonious, pious hypocrites you would ever want to not come across. And thank goodness this week in Canberra, there's only 3 of them actually in the chamber. The other mouth breathers are stuck at home, sort of staring through their computers. But these people put themselves out as being so pious, but are so political about this. And they do it in a way where they try to present themselves as being the innocent party, but quite frankly, all it is a witch hunt. And what the Greens do is that they use the media, they use grabs on social media to get their sort of their supporters into a bit of a frenzy, and they go off on a witch hunt. And why you have the rule of law is to make sure that the politics and the personalities are taken out of it. Otherwise, you end up in year 0, and you end up what you actually had in. I don't want to sound crazy, but that's what happened in Cambodia. Year 0, you didn't have any law, and it was just the rule of the jungle. And in Australia, we need the rule of the law to protect the innocent, but also to ensure the guilty are appropriately punished.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, just another one here. Victoria at one point was trying to get rid of the Lord's Prayer. They've made the decision they're going to keep it inside their parliament. I'm sure there'll be a day when enough people will vote to get rid of it here. And I get it. Not every person in the country is a Christian. I've said it many times that I'm an atheist, but I have respect for the Christian basis of our nation and the fact that the best part of 60, almost 70% of Australians are people of faith. But What is the constant want to be the people who strip the Lord's Prayer from the procedures of Parliament? I know you have this debate, the federal thing, all the time, and I'm sure there'll be a time when eventually there'll be enough votes to remove it. But what do people think they're going to achieve by removing the Lord's Prayer?
I don't know. It's what it is actually. It's a war on religion, and it's a war on Christianity. And I'm someone who strongly believes in freedom. I believe especially in freedom of religion. There's going to be a bill come up later in this year that I'll support that is all about freedom of religion. And I don't understand why people hate it so much, because when you look at the Lord's Prayer and you look at what it talks about, it actually talks about us coming together, it talks about forgiving, it talks about the principles that actually built Australia. But what it actually is, it's this war on Christianity, but it's a fundamental war on wanting to change everything. Over my shoulder here, I've got the Australian flag. They want to change that. They want to change the Lord's Prayer. They want us to become they just want change. But they're not focusing on the real issues, which is why aren't we talking about, for example, youth suicide? Why aren't we talking about infant death mortality in Indigenous communities? Why aren't we talking about homelessness amongst our veterans? Why are we talking about issues like that? So for the left, this is a way for them to wedge the community and push their sort of woke politics rather than focusing on issues that can unite us as a community and actually do common good.
No, I agree completely. Thank you, Senator. Nice to talk to you. We'll talk to you again very soon. Top of the ticket for the LNP at the upcoming election, Senator James McGrath.